Hello, hello. It's week 16, a Sunday morning here. Lots of fantasy football to play. We'll answer all your questions after the intro.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, here we are. I'm Kyle Senra here on the Going for Two Live Sunday morning start sit stream. I would say, what up, dogs? Because Jamie from Cleveland representing the Dog Pound. How are you, Jamie?
Doing good, man. Happy holidays, everyone. Hopefully we can gift you some championships this week.
And literally, what's up, dog, is Topher is holding a dog. How are you, Topher, and how are you?
I'm doing well. Hey, this is Goose. Goose has been in our house for 8 days. And so he's not used to our 3 other dogs yet. And so I do not trust him to be out there with our 2 other corgis and German Shepherd for the next hour. So I might be hitting mute on and off a lot because corgis are vocal, aren't you? So, yeah. So Goose will not give you any good advice, though. Not at all. He's not used to it yet.
Goose will suggest the players that will give you a goose egg.
Yes, I like that.
Does Goose know that Goose is a dog and not a goose? And then, or are they confused thinking that those other dogs aren't gooses and that they're different species?
That's a really good question.
You're not a mind reader, I guess you wouldn't know.
So we named him Gustav after Gustav Mahler. All of our dogs are named after musicians.
Okay.
So my husband has his doctorate in tuba performance, just like everybody does. So he named, before we met, got a German Shepherd named Sousa. And then we have a corgi named Frank after Frank Sinatra. And then we have a female corgi named Hildy after Hildegard von Bingen, who is the first historically known Western composer. So, yeah.
So your next dog is going to be Eminem or Snoop Dogg?
that would be quite the renaissance, I would say.
We actually considered Ice-T.
Oh, okay. That's cool.
Yeah. Not at all. But
okay. I mean, I definitely know people who name their dogs Kendrick after Kendrick Lamar. So, Jamie, you're on the brainwave train thought of.
Yeah. My brother has a dog named Usher. Him and his wife have a dog named Usher.
Oh, because they enjoy the ushers at churches and
yes, nothing to do with the Super Bowl performing musician at all.
Oh, right. I remember her playing guitar with Usher last year. Yeah. Her was awesome.
Yes.
Of course, I would say
yes, H-E-R. Yes, I was like, her. It's like, are you calling Usher or her? What?
No, that was kind of the joke. Is it supposed to be H-E-R? I don't know. She has a guitar. That's all I really care about.
Yes, I got you.
But yeah, we've got you as well. If you have any start-sit questions. Now, my shirt says no kickers. Going for 2, of course. You know, who cares about kicks? If you do have kicker questions, though, I do rank kickers, so I can't actually answer them, but we prefer not to. But, if you have a kicker question, we're not going to stop you. But yes, we love talking running backs, tight ends, quarterbacks, and these wide receivers. And some dog named Jamie has this question. Terry McLaurin or Drake London?
Yeah, I keep going back and forth, man. I don't know what to do. Both kind of tough matchups.
Yeah.
Then you got the rookie quarterback. So both were in my article as tough matchups.
Technically both rookie quarterbacks, but one has an advantage of having played
that's true.
Games. He's played 15 games in the NFL so far. So that's a massive difference between him and Penix making his first start. And I think that's why I would leave McLaurin. I don't know what to expect. Even if Penix is good, does he target London a lot? Does he prefer to go to the slot targets like Mooney and McLeod? But they're still risky because what if he doesn't? What if he does over target London? So the whole thing is super uncertain. It sucks that the Falcons are dropping this in the fantasy playoffs. They couldn't have done this in the fantasy regular season. Which to be fair might have actually saved their season if they had done this sooner. But they also probably just shouldn't have signed Kirk Cousins in the first place. Clearly, so bad franchise making bad decisions. I think the one thing we saw Eagles Commanders that Thursday night. The Washington offense didn't look good, but that was when right in the middle of Daniels dealing with that rib injury. That might have been his second or third game after the rib injury, and it was a short week, a Sunday to a Thursday night. You had that week and a half rest, suddenly the next Sunday he seemed back to normal. So like that, he was still dealing with the rib injury. So I think it's tough to just base that game on what happened last time. Like, oh, the Commanders couldn't really score much on offense, but I think we'll see a different offense this time around. So I'm less concerned with the matchup from that standpoint. And I'm pretty sure McLaurin is a top 12 wide receiver this week.
Man, they're both outside my top 10, top 12. So
well, technically outside my top 10 because I have McLaurin at 11. But that's about 10 spots higher than Drake London, who I currently have outside the top 20. I don't know.
It just worries me because the Eagles, they allow the least amount of fantasy points to wide receivers. So I don't know.
Have they played an offense this good yet? And again, not counting Washington last time with Daniels dealing with an injury. Maybe the last offense this good was week 1 against the Packers. Jaden Reed went off that game. He had a touchdown. So they've definitely, against quality offenses, they show that they will allow production. I guess.
Yeah, they also played Tampa Bay and gave up 33 points when both Evans and Godwin were healthy in week 4. They held Cincinnati to 17 points. And lately they've held the Rams with healthy receivers to 20, Baltimore to 19, Pittsburgh to 13. So, I mean, the last 3 out of 4 weeks, they've played some formidable offenses and have still, So I don't know.
The Giants suck. That's the thing. The Giants are just an absolute awful team. So Penix could do well, but they could also do so well that it's just a Bijan game, right?
Yes, that's what I think that they're going to do. Is that they've got Bijan and Algier, and I think that since they have a rockstar running back in Bijan, and Algier is somebody, obviously he had 1,000-yard season 2 seasons ago. He's great at his job as well. So I think that they're really going to rely on him because this is a great starter game, like great dip your toe in the water with Penix, see what you have against the Giants. So I would go McLaurin because I feel like the Commanders are going to be playing from behind and they're going to pass more and Terry's just going to shine more. That's my thought.
Yeah, I know. And like Adoree Jackson, he's a seasoned vet, man. Like he only allows like 52% catch rate. He's ranked 39th out of the 212 cornerbacks. So, I mean, it's not quite easy for him too.
Other than Dexter Lawrence, it might be one of only 2 good defensive players on the team.
Yeah. So, yeah, I'm going to go McLaurin because I was leaning London, but you guys talked me into McLaurin.
Yeah. And I mean, Penix could turn out to be amazing, and this could be a huge mistake, but I think there's also a huge risk that I know that the common thing I've heard a lot is, Penix can't possibly be worse than Cousins is right now.
And I do also.
What if he does, though?
I have Bijan on this team, so hopefully Bijan goes off.
Yeah, this is something in the fantasy playoffs, I'm less likely to do that. In the regular season, I think you can get away with it. But to me, in the fantasy semifinals, you need absolute utmost ceiling. You're kind of capping it, taking 2 players from the same team. You almost want, Jamie, you want the scenario where Penix barely passes because Bijan scores 3 touchdowns and has 200 yards. Like, that's the ideal scenario to win. Right? Like, you kind of have to a bit of DFS talk there where you kind of, okay, what is the narrative? How do I paint this picture? What do I think this offense is going to go? I think you definitely don't want to bench Bijan. Like the option, okay, play London, bench McLaurin, and bench Bijan. What else are you going to do? Like that's tough to make that work too. If you had Brian Robinson, that might be enough to push me in the opposite direction. But
I actually do have Brian Robinson on this team.
But
he's on the bench.
Well, and there you go. Right. So I suppose that's your combos, right? If you want to play London and Robinson, that would make sense. If you wanted to play
because I'd have to say Connor and someone else. That's top.
Yeah, I mean, I've got Brian, because here's the one thing. I know that Washington didn't do well. Pretty sure Brian Robinson was the RB, he was top 15 running back last time they played the Eagles. And that, again, is with Daniels dealing with the rib injury, this offense not operating well. So he could still do well, but yeah, I have Connor and Bijan ranked ahead. T-Mac.
Zach, welcome
back.
Hi, Zach.
Glad you moved on.
Hi, Zach.
Yeah. Zach had it. PPR. Feels like Zach is almost every week asked about Jameson Williams because he is such a wild card type player. Like, you never really know what to get from Jameson Williams. But PPR, Jameson Williams, Keenan Allen, or Josh Downs. Pick a team.
Man, I think I'm going to take Josh Downs out of the equation here.
So then you're picking the other two. You bench one of them. It's funny because my first thought was I think I want to play Josh Downs the most.
Really?
Passing goal line grade this week for the Colts, they have the highest. So, of course, my goal line guide article is going to drive that. They have a 103 for their passing goal line grade, highest of any passing score this week and the third highest overall. Their grade differential is plus 29.5, favoring the pass, which is the highest for any team favoring the pass and the second highest differential overall. So there's a lot of good touchdown upside with the Colts if they choose. And that's the big if, right? Does Anthony
mark
Richardson
that. Come here.
Yes, I just can't trust Richardson. That's my whole point. I do have them very close. 32 for Keenan Allen, 33 for Williams, and 35 for Downs.
I have him. Okay, you know what? I actually have Williams ranked the highest. I have Williams at 26, Downs at 28. Keenan Allen is at wide receiver 49. I have so little faith in the Bears.
See, and I completely understand where you're coming from. However, they are playing the Lions at home. And Keenan Allen's last 4 games have been tremendous.
Including a game against the Lions, to your point, where
75 receptions, 73 yards, 2 tutties. He's done
he was the wide receiver 4 that week, so yeah.
Yeah. And he scored a touchdown in the last he scored 4 touchdowns in the last 3 out of 4 games. And in the last 3 out of 4 games, he's had at least 5 receptions for 70 yards in there as well. The only game he struggled in was the game against San Fran when the Bears looked worse than a 3-year-old's art project. So that was a big yawn there. Sorry, if I don't comment about a dog's yawn, I think I'm going to hell. Anyway, so I think you also have to consider that David Montgomery is out, and they are probably not going to want to rely on Craig Reynolds as much as and they don't want to run Gibbs into the ground because they know that they're going to make a great playoff run. So I think they might do a little more. I think that's my thought, but I could be totally wrong.
The Lions could lose in the divisional round. That could definitely be happen.
Correct, but
there's hoping.
I know, but their sights are set.
They look like a pretty good team. I hate to admit it, they look like a great team.
I mean, they haven't been competitive in my entire lifetime, really. So I'm okay with seeing a little bit of glory and joy from them. I loathe the Bears and the Vikings, but the Lions, as they're our least of the rivals. And it's kind of fun to watch the turnaround that they've had. Now, if they continue down this path, I won't like it, but it's fun to see a little bit. So
I'm super petty. And in 1962, 29 years before I was born, they beat the Packers that year, and that was the Packers' only loss. They literally ruined the Packers' perfect season. And 62, still considered probably the greatest season in Packers history. They won the NFL championship, and they went back-to-back that year. So that really solidified it as a true dynasty under Lombardi. It was their highest points differential season ever in their franchise history, and the Lions ruined the perfect season. So I hate the Lions forever for that. I never want to see them have success. But since you're a music lover, Topher, and I guess so are you, Jamie. I don't know if Jamie likes this kind of music, though. But can you guess, or do you know what was the number 1 song in the U.S. on the Billboard Hot 100 the last time the Lions won a championship? I can give you the year if that helps.
Give me the year.
1957.
Well, the Billboard 100 started I want to say it was either 56 or 57. It was right around there. So I'm going to say, because I know this is the first number 1 pop song of all time, I'm going to say Poor Little Fool by Ricky Nelson.
No.
So it was 57?
Yeah. It's a much bigger name for an artist.
It would have to be something Elvis, probably.
It is something Elvis. Jailhouse Rock by Elvis was the number 1 song in the country the last time the Lions won a championship.
Wow.
Good guess, Jamie. Way to go.
Yeah, I just know my uncle was a huge Elvis fan.
The Eminem of his time, you would say, right?
Yeah. My stepdad did Elvis cover band.
Oh, cool.
Nice.
Actually, at Elliott Lake, there's a really good Elvis impersonator. Like he's won awards in Canada and stuff. So yeah, it's
Nice.
people love-
Okay, we do have to
people love
answer
Elvis.
this question for Zach, though.
Yeah,
Zach,
sorry, Zach. You're the only one on the hopper right now, so we're taking how long can we answer this question?
I'm sure he's sitting
You
there
guys
like,
have made a bunch of compelling arguments. I'm still benching Keenan Allen. I
I'm
don't know. I
start-
still think
I'm starting
I would
Keenan
come on,
Allen.
I'm definitely going Jameson. I don't mind benching Allen just because guess who's healthy on the Bears? Who's going to score 5 touchdowns today?
oh,
Roshan
Roshan.
Johnson.
Yeah, Roshan Johnson. So
Well, I mean, if you look at the goal line guide, like part of the reason that the Bears have such a poor passing goal line grade, they have 65.25 in that's 10 points lower than the average. The Lions have only allowed 19% touchdown rate inside the 5 passing. They've allowed 64% rate on the ground running. So if the Bears are smart and they get close to the end zone, yeah, run Roshan and he will probably score touchdowns. Now, the Bears, well, I don't know. Eberflus isn't there. So I think the Bears might actually be smart. Like I think Thomas Brown can at least understand that concept of, oh man, we should run near the goal line because the Lions are really bad at defending that. If it was Eberflus in charge, they might not. But I have confidence enough in Thomas Brown. So I think that's it. Like I guess part of the reason I really rely on the goal line guide this week is because Zach, you probably need ceiling. Like you probably need high upside performances. And I know Keenan Allen did that a couple weeks ago. I just don't know that this is the week for it to happen. So that's why I really like Josh Downs this week. And I mean, that Lions offense, you tell me I got to pick either side of that game, a Bears offense or a Lions offense to rely on to like constantly score points and give that ceiling upside. Much preferred trusting the Lions. And no David Montgomery might mean they just end up throwing more. To your point earlier, Topher, of protecting Gibbs. Is this a heavy pass volume game? And that's where Jameson Williams gets the upside.
Yes.
So I think, Jamie, you said you were benching Josh Downs?
yeah, just because I don't like Anthony Richardson. I don't know. Can't trust him.
And then, sorry to interrupt, Topher, but who would you bench then?
I'm benching Josh Downs.
Okay. Well, we've seen this recently. When Kyle disagrees with Topher and Jamie, you should probably then just bench Josh Downs, even though I think that's a bad idea. Yeah. So from Courtney.
Well, here, let's skip that one and go to this guy. Yeah, let's go to the next one.
So this one right here, should I play Bucky? No, that's Topher.
That one's me.
Over?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Then let's go back to Courtney.
No, we don't want to do that.
Yeah, go back to Courtney's question
So
first.
is this Courtney Harden or Courtney Burrows? It doesn't really matter.
Love Tractor.
Yeah, Courtney Burrows. Okay.
Yeah.
I love both of them. They're both amazing. Well, glad. And I mean, that's not going to change the quality of the answer. I'll still give the best answer, I think. Bucky, Patrick Taylor, or Kendry Miller over Aaron Jones.
Oof.
Since they might rest Joe, what the Vikings might rest. I'm assuming that's Aaron Jones, right?
Yeah, I don't know who else it would. What other running back is last name Jones?
Yeah,
I'm thinking of Thomas Jones back in the day, but that's
rankings. Is there a Jones? Do I see a Jones, Mr.
Yeah,
Jones?
I'm not seeing any
Jones.
more Jones. So it's got to
Well,
be.
I get to Patrick Taylor in my rankings before I see a Jones, Aaron. So yeah.
Really?
Here's the thing: are we sure Patrick Taylor is going to just like get all the work like they normally have? Because I think at a certain point they're going to run out of bodies so much that I think Shanahan's actually going to be scared of doing that.
Yes.
They can't afford another running back injury, so I don't think they're going to overtax this guy. So I'm definitely kind of saying not Patrick Taylor. There's no way I would play Patrick Taylor over Aaron Jones. The Packers wouldn't have done that if they're on the same team. I wouldn't do that this season. I'll start with that.
No, you're not jumping on the table. Sorry, I wasn't talking to either of you or the Bills fans. I was talking to the dog.
I mean, Jones is a Vikings player. I don't know that I want to jump on the table for him.
Yeah, I'm telling you, Bucky Irving, besides the game that he got hurt in, he is just the last 5 weeks, he is smashing it. He only has 3 touchdowns, but he has had since the bye. So let's go last 4 weeks. He has had over 115 yards in each 3 of the last 4 games. He got hurt against the Raiders. And then the week before that against San Fran, he had quick math, 87 yards total and a touchdown. Like Bucky Irving is a must start every week. Like he even played last week with that bum hip a little bit and with 15 carries ran for 117 yards. against the Chargers front line. Like I'm starting Bucky Irving no matter what. He's a top 10 running back for me rest of the season.
He is also the only one of these three I do have ranked ahead of Aaron Jones. So,
Yeah.
I have him back to back. Bucky, Jones. I mean,
curious where you have it.
15 and 16.
I've got Bucky at 14 and Jones at 18. So yeah.
Okay.
But
Man.
Bucky is the highest, I assume.
Yeah, I got Bucky one spot above Jones, just because it's going to be a positive game script, right? I don't see Dallas going ahead, so Rashad White probably won't be used as much. Bucky's going to get more of the workload, in my opinion.
And you could make the same argument for Seattle too.
Yeah, I mean, Jones is the only running back in that backfield, though. That's the thing.
I mean, Cam Akers and Ty Johnson both got.
Yeah,
I'm not worried about those guys.
and not Ty Chandler.
Chandler.
Oh,
I agree. I like Rashad White more than both of those guys. I will say that. So that's true. But it also feels like Sean Tucker has become completely irrelevant. And if the game is close and serious, and let's say the Cowboys do put up points, they're still going to rely on Bucky a lot. So
yes,
I guess to my point, Jamie, what you said might be true, but I also don't think it's that much of a concern either way. Touchdown upside. I think it definitely belongs with Bucky. The Vikings have been brutal running inside the 5 this year.
Yeah.
They're much better at passing. They've got 29% touchdown rate on carries inside the 5, 65% touchdown rate on passes inside the 5. That does.
Come here.
It doesn't quite lead the league, but they're really close to the league. I think the league leaders are Buffalo, actually, 70%. So it's definitely up there. Whereas they're pretty close to bottom of the league running inside the 5. So Jones doesn't have as much touchdown upside as say the receivers do, I think, on the team. And certainly not what Bucky Irving does. The Bucks goal line grade passing this week running is 99.5, which is
You're not getting my water.
4th or 5th highest rushing score. So definitely like the touchdown upside of Bucky a lot more. So Courtney, if you're watching, I know you're a Saints fan. You probably hate Bucky Irving, but trust him anyway. It comes from a Packers fan who hates the Vikings.
Yeah.
So take that as what it will. A pair of Packers fans who hate the Vikings.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, with Patrick Taylor and Kendra, it's just too much uncertainty with them.
Yeah, I mean, Taylor, what kind of split are they going to get? I mean, with Kendra, we still don't know for sure that Carr is going to miss. I imagine he will.
No, I saw he is out.
Carr is out.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go. Okay, so we know Kendra is going to probably get most of the work, but they also, I think, have the lowest implied total of the week. Yeah, I mean, they're at least Monday when the lines open.
Goose.
They're projected for 15 points. The Saints. So
you're a mess.
So little points being scored. I just don't know where the upside is with the Kendra guy. So Bucky would be the only one I would consider, and frankly, that would be the choice I take. I think all three of us are saying go Bucky over him.
Yeah.
Yeah, Bucky over Jones, but it's close between them.
Right, so we're all in agreement. So that's nice. Unlike with Zach, where we confuse. I would say we. I mean, I confused him. No, he's just going to listen to you guys. I think it's Topher. And honestly, the one guy that seems like he might have lost faith in Topher for was Jamie anyway. So Zach is definitely not confused. He did that time and he regretted it. I regretted it too. So
it was 1 week. We were on a break.
Okay. We're such good friends. And such good friends will also help you answer each other's questions. So thank you.
Yes.
For asking this one. Half PPR. So Rashad White. I love talking about those Bucks. Kendre Miller again. Wide receiver Jaden Reed, Keon Coleman, Christian Watson, and you're already starting Khalil Shakir and Bucky Irving.
Yes.
First off, Jamie, do you agree with that? Just right away start Shakir and Irving.
Oh, yeah. I love Shakir this week. Top 20 sneaky option.
Yep.
At
receiver. In the
receiver.
top 20 as well.
Yep. And I even wrote him up in my wide receiver article. So
yeah, wide receiver 19 for me. So yeah, top 20.
You go.
I think I got him at like 18, 17.
Yeah, there we go. No, he's getting targets. He looks like he's the wide receiver.
Oh, shoot. I put him at 16, above Drake London.
I also have him above Drake London. I definitely think that's a smart decision. So clearly, I think Keon Coleman's out. Like that's the one name I saw past there. Like there's no way, Topher. There's no way you can play him.
That's what I thought as well, but I figured, you know what? Let me just throw him in there. I'd rather have more options than.
No, for sure.
I don't want to
leave no stone unturned. But we're gonna keep that stone turned down. It's Keon Coleman.
Oh, we saw that. No, thank you.
Sorry, Jeff. I know you like.
No, thank you.
But, not with this. Like these are all players that we kind of expect to produce, and Coleman could legit get a 0 on any given week.
Yeah.
Which I mean, floor isn't really the concern. I think in semifinals anyway. You really are chasing the ceiling. I don't think he has the upside of some of these other guys. Huh. My first thought is, of course, you're a Packers fan, is wanting to get some exposure to that Packers game, just because like they're expected to score so many points, but at the same time, so are the Buccaneers.
Yeah,
But
and
I don't.
I'll tell you that over the past few weeks, Rashad White has outscored Jaden Reed and Watson. Reed has been, I love Reed, but Reed has not been getting the play time. Like he's been getting some touchdowns, but since they're bye in week 10, here are his yardage totals: 23, 26, 24, 0, 34. Like,
just not, like you said, not playing enough. They take him off the field more than they should, in my opinion, as a Packers fan.
His snap share just continually is creeping downward throughout the season. It's a mess.
It seems like they want him as a slot receiver when they're playing 11 personnel, so playing with 3 wide receivers. And when they go to other formations, like lately they've been playing a lot of the 2 running backs, not halfback and fullback, but have Josh Jacobs with Chris Brooks or with an Emmanuel Wilson on the field.
Yes.
Sometimes that's Jaden Reed. Like sometimes he plays that second running back as well.
But they don't throw it to him.
No, because they usually use him as a decoy in that play to just run up the middle with Jacobs. I've noticed that. Whenever Reed is in the backfield, it's eye candy to distract the defense. Now, like they're not really using him the Debo-esque way that they had in the past. Because frankly, they haven't needed to. Josh Jacobs has been so good.
Yeah, but even like at the first half of the season for Jaden Reed versus the second half is extraordinarily different. It's kind of like Christian Watson and Jaden Reed have swapped roles a little bit, where Christian Watson is getting more of those opportunities. He does keep dropping those opportunities, but that's to be expected, as we know. So, Goose, I'm having a very important conversation right now.
Yeah, especially talking about Packers.
Yeah, exactly. And Rashad White just kind of keeps putting up good numbers. Kendre Miller, he is playing the Packers, so I don't know if I want to start him, but it's a tricky flex position.
And here's something to especially go against Kendre Miller, to that last part of not wanting to play him against the Packers. Green Bay has the best touchdown rate defensively on runs inside the 5. They've only allowed 23% of carries inside their 5-yard line to end in touchdowns. That is the league low rate.
Oh, wow.
They are tied for the league worst in passing, though. They're at 60% touchdown rate on passes inside their 5, which ties them with the Jaguars, the Titans, and the Cowboys. That's not great, but they've been really good at stopping the run. So Kendre doesn't have a lot of touchdown upside in this game. From that stat, and B, the fact that they're projected again is I think the lowest implied total of any team this week, at least when the line's open. I don't know if stuff has changed with other news of other quarterbacks starting, but Spencer Rattler started. Odds makers are afraid of the Saints not scoring points. So, I guess my biggest concern with Rashad White is, do you want to play 2 Buccaneers running backs? That might work. If they score enough points against the Cowboys, it might work.
Yeah. I also am playing Baker Mayfield, if that helps, because Rashad White has had 2 receiving touchdowns in the last 2 weeks, 3 receiving touchdowns in the last 5 weeks. He also has had, over the past 4 weeks, he's had a total of 37, 76, 90, and 64 rushing yards, while Bucky Irving has outdone him in most of those games, besides the one he was injured in, obviously. But Bucky's had 12 carries, 25, 4, 15. Rashad's had 12, 11, 17, 15. So they're running the ball between them. They're running it 35 times a game, and there's nothing that tells me they're not going to do that again. Especially against Dallas. Like, they have this 2-headed monster backfield. My gut, I love Jaden Reed so much, and I just want to play him every week, but he hurts my soul, and I can't do that. So,
yeah, I know. I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
I think the other thing too, looking at Bucky, with the one consequence of this injury, and I guess he got injured at the end of the Panthers game. He only had 3 catches in that game, then only 1 in the Raiders game where, again, he barely played. coming back last week where, okay, he got 15 carries, still only 2 targets. And while his pass catching role just before the bye week really started to solidify, again, as guys like Evans and Godwin got hurt, part of it was, okay, targeting tight end more and Kate Otten, targeting both of the running backs, Rashad White and Bucky Irving. And I guess Irving, just 3 targets over the last 2 weeks and really just 6 targets over the last 3. Like, that's a lot lower than when, just like the week after the bye week, he had 6 targets, 6 catches. That Falcons game, he had 7 targets, 7 catches. Like, those are elevated numbers we're expecting. 2 targets per game is not that. And so if that trend continues, it's probably because Rashad White is just on the field more as that pass catching back. Yeah. So if you believe that Irving's injury is still going to affect him in that sense, then it does make sense to stack White with Baker.
And White is on the field snap percentage share. He's on the field more than Irving. He's on it, but Irving's just better.
I think when Irving's on the field, they want to give him the ball. Like, if he's going to be out there, you're going to get the carry. For other things, though, still with like pass protection and other things that like where the running back doesn't actually touch the ball, I think they still prefer White. So some of those snaps aren't really fantasy relevant snaps, but I think it's like Rashad White, they don't really want to take him off the field on passing downs. They seem to really like him in that role. And if he, I guess if they're thinking, if we're going to limit Bucky anywhere, that's the spot we're going to limit him in. Because we think he's a better runner than Rashad White. So we don't want to necessarily just give Rashad White more carries. Because then we don't, what's the point of running the football? Like, we feel like we're less effective anyway. We're, might as well run it with Bucky, but we like White as a receiver so much. So yeah, I guess that pass catching upside, even if it's half PPR, can still make a difference because their passing goal line grade this week for the Bucs is 102. Yeah. It's the fourth highest score of the week. So
here's something that could add a little to it. I have Ramondre Stevenson as another running back of mine. And obviously he hasn't scored a touchdown since week 9 against the Titans. He's literally getting 74, 73, 73, 69 rushing yards per game, and about 15 receiving yards per game. Is that somebody that I put on the bench against the Bills, and put 2 of these people up there instead?
Honestly, I'm looking at my rankings. I do have Kendre Miller ranked ahead of Ramondre. So I might be wanting to play either of those running backs ahead of him, to be honest. Because talked about the Packers, and I get the one scary thing about Kendre Miller, the lack of touchdown upside. Second in the league in touchdown percentage allowed inside the 5 is the Bills. Like, they're a very good, excellent run defense, only allowing touchdowns on 26% of rushing plays. So the Packers are 23%. They're just below at 26. I think last week against the Lions, they allowed 2. So like before last week, they were the number 1 rushing defense inside the 5. So I think it'll be another bad streak of touchdowns for Stevenson. Honestly, all the reasons I don't want to play Miller are apparent to Stevenson because their implied total was super low this week, 16, tied for the second lowest of the week. So like neither offense is expected to score more points. So when it comes to running back, I think you definitely want to, in that case, go with both Bucs guys.
Okay. And then do I sit Stevenson for one of these other players?
Yeah, that's tricky.
I would.
Jamie, I've talked a lot. I'll let you go. Sorry.
Yeah, no, I'm starting Stevenson over Miller. See, the thing
about over
Reed, though, I don't know. Like, I know the Saints, don't they allow the 7th most points to slot receivers?
I mean, you might know that more than me. So if you think so, then if that's what you're saying. Like that, and in theory,
but with that said, I do have Reed ranked lower than Kendre, Rashad White.
In half PPR, you still like flexing that running back?
Yeah, definitely. Well, in half, yeah. Even in full PPR, I would still probably do the running back.
Okay, so you're saying stick with Stevenson in the lineup then?
I like Stevenson. I like Stevenson more than Miller.
But you also, and I'm guessing do you have Rashad White ranked higher than Stevenson, or?
No, I got him like two spots lower.
Okay. But I think you still like. You said you like Miller ahead of all the receivers, so I imagine you also like Rashad White more than.
Oh yeah. I'd definitely go White.
Yeah. Okay.
Because in that case, you're getting 100% of the snaps at running back, as opposed to like, I don't know, 50.
Wait, who's playing 100% of the snaps at running back?
If you have White and
combined for 100%.
Yeah,
yes.
combined.
Okay, sorry, I thought you were talking about Ramondre for a second. Okay, yeah. Because Antonio Gibson isn't great, but he's still there. He still exists.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I think I will stick with what I've got because I had White starting in my as my flex out of this group, but I figured I would. Goose,
Okay.
stop. Not necessary.
I'll be honest,
That
I'm
way.
pretty tempted to play a Packers receiver over Stevenson personally.
I know. And if I'm
I
playing
want
one,
the offenses that are going to score points. And I think
Yeah.
that I don't love Miller. I don't love Stevenson this week. Like, give me the Packers, who I think have the third highest implied total this week. Actually, one of the teams higher than them is the Buccaneers, so that would make it. That would be a team that makes sense to play 2 running backs.
yeah, and if I'm going to start a Packers wide receiver, it's going to be Watson. Like, I think, I mean, against, here's the deal. I'm facing the highest point scorer right now. So do I
Semifinals, that's going to be, a good chance of happening.
Yeah. So do I play Reed because we know that he can have the biggest games, the biggest game out of all these guys? Or do I play Watson and hope that he does what he's been doing lately?
I still have Reed ranked higher.
Yeah, same
He's
here.
the one that's shown that he can get the touchdowns and have the spike weeks. Like, the problem with Watson is he hasn't put it together. He's had huge yardage, no touchdown, or he'll get a touchdown to kind of give himself some value, but they also haven't thrown a lot. Like, Love really likes using him as a deep threat and not really as a red zone threat, whereas Rodgers was the opposite. Rodgers loved Watson as a red zone threat.
Yes.
That's why his touchdowns were spiked that 1 year, but then since then he's barely found the end zone. Like, I think pretty sure he had more touchdowns that year than the last 2 seasons combined.
Yes. Oh,
Probably not
yes.
even close, honestly. It's like probably doubled. Because he had 9 that year, and I think he might have 4 this year. So from that perspective, I still think I like Jaden Reed the most. Because as you mentioned, you're playing the highest point score, and again, in the semifinals, there's probably at least a 25% chance of that happening. And one of those outcomes is you're the highest scoring team, so you don't have to play that. You have to play against yourself ever.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think when it comes to that ceiling, I still feel like in theory Watson has the ceiling type of performance over a slot receiver. Like, oh, you want the deep threat receiver for the spike weeks. He's not really catching the touchdowns to give him the spike weeks. Jaden Reed.
Yeah. Hey, Roger, we're glad that you are here. We've been answering our own questions and and Zach's, because Zach is weekly, and yes.
So is Roger.
We're glad
Roger's
you're
here almost every week. So Roger,
Well,
Love it.
yeah, it doesn't matter. We're still online, so we're still answering questions. So thank you for dropping yours. And of course, anyone who wants to join the
Goose.
live YouTube, going for 2 Twitch, or going for 2 Facebook pages can also ask their questions. I forgot to say that. That's probably why we haven't had people need my instructions. Need a QB. Have Anthony Richardson, Tua, and free agent pickups available include Caleb Williams and Matthew Stafford.
interesting, because I have Stafford and Caleb both over Tua this week.
Well, and that doesn't even matter to me. I think it's A-Rich.
Oh yeah, definitely. I have.
I've got Anthony Richardson at QB 8 this week.
I have him at 9. So just because of that rushing upside.
Well, rushing, I think there's huge touchdown upside this week, whether it's himself running or the passing touchdown, again, from the goal line guide. I mentioned it earlier with the highest passing goal line grade of the week for me. So again, for passing offenses is the Colts. It's the 3rd highest score overall. Only the Packers and the Bills for their rushing scores have higher goal line grades than the Colts do for their passing game. Titans, I mentioned it earlier, the Titans are tied for the league worst in touchdowns inside the 5 allowed through the air. They're tied with the Jaguars. They're tied with the Packers, unfortunately. They're tied with the Cowboys. They're all at 60% touchdown rate inside the 5. So, and I think Richardson, even if he chooses not to throw in the red zone, it's because he's going to run it in himself. So, in a semifinal week, I think, yes, Richardson has had some down weeks, but he also has the most upside of this group. And I think you just have to go with his upside. I don't know if where do I have Tua? I'm not sure. See, I think I do have Tua as the highest anyway over Stafford and Caleb. Like, I really don't believe Caleb this week.
Well, I have Caleb next. He's number 13 for me.
I've got him at QB 23.
Caleb?
I have Stafford higher. Stafford 16. I'd rather go with that. I think Richardson.
Stafford against the Jets.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I don't like it.
Well, I don't love any of this other than Richardson, so I think it's pretty easy to stick with Anthony Richardson. But sorry, Topher, go ahead.
No, it's okay. I was just going to say, especially with the matchup against Tennessee, one of the worst, if not the worst team in the NFL right now. I think Richardson will be able to get some sizable rushing yards. He'll get 1 or 2 throws downfield to Josh Downs or AD Mitchell or somebody that, gets you a 60+ yard touchdown pass. And, it'll elevate his passing stats to 117 yards for the total game. And
well, all we care about are touchdowns, though, right? That's
correct. Correct. So if
his yards aren't going to matter.
If he comes away with 2 touchdowns, 1 on the ground, 1 rushing, and he has 70 rushing yards with that, I don't think. Tua is playing San Fran. They're a hot or cold team, and their lives are on the line. But if we saw what we saw what they just did to the Bears a couple weeks ago, I'm not super confident that Miami or the 49ers are going to be excellent. So I hold back on Tua. Caleb is against Detroit. They're going to throw it a bunch. He could be the right play. He could really be the right play. And Stafford against the Jets. No, I wouldn't do that. So between Richardson and Williams for me, I'm leaning Richardson, but let me kind of look at what their past 5 weeks have been for a second.
And while you're doing that, I'm just going to share the passing goal line grades for those 3 teams. Like I said, so the average for this week is 76.2 passing offenses. For rushing offenses, it's 80.9. But with that 76.2 in mind, the Dolphins are at 66.5, and both the Rams and the Bears are at 65.25. So below average grades for all of them. I mentioned the Colts passing is 103. And if you think, that doesn't apply to Richardson because he's a rushing quarterback, his rushing, the Colts rushing goal line grade is 73.5. So that's still higher than any of the other teams passing. So I think, again, with knowing that it's all about touchdowns, I think it's Richardson. I mean,
3 weeks ago, when the Bears went to Detroit, Caleb threw for 256 and 3 touchdowns. Caleb Williams also only crazy to me. He only has 5 interceptions on the season, and he hasn't had an interception since week 6 of the season. So he's not been the best quarterback ever, but he's playing smart ball, especially for a rookie to only have to play every week and to only have 5 interceptions. I think they've played the Lions once. He's seen that. I'm switching it because Richardson, if he does not get you at least 2 touchdowns, you're screwed.
Yeah, but you need that anyway, right? If you don't get 2 touchdowns from any of these quarterbacks, you're screwed.
Yeah, last week he threw for 172, 2 interceptions, and then ran for 46 yards and a touchdown. And he scored, the league that I'm looking in right now is 13.88. Even with scoring a touchdown. I think Caleb Williams over the past 4 weeks has had at least he's averaged 2 touchdowns a game. I'm going Caleb Williams.
Technically, Richardson's also averaged 2 touchdowns a game over the last 2 weeks because he had a 3 touchdown game there and then a 3 touchdown game against the Jets. I don't know. I just think I like that upside, but I think you might have a good point, Topher, that you want to take maybe Williams off the waiver wire and pick up Williams and drop Tua, not necessarily to play Williams, but just to take him away from the opponent.
I'm still going to start Caleb Williams. It hurts me to say that with this G on my chest, but
you've convinced me. I've raised him to QB 22. I put him ahead of Mac Jones instead of right behind Mac Jones.
Oh my God, you had Caleb Williams behind Mac Jones?
That's crazy, man.
Mac Jones put up 20 points last week.
Yeah.
And he plays the Raiders this week.
Okay, that's kind of fair. Kind of.
But yeah, I'm pretty.
Here's one. I have Caleb Williams 1 spot above your quarterback, Jordan Love.
I'm pretty low on Love this week too. I think that they aren't going to throw a bunch of touchdowns.
I also think that Love is playing really. Love is playing really good real football. He's not somebody you're starting fantasy wise right now. He's just not.
0 interceptions over the last 4 games. Isn't it a thing of beauty, Topher?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Jordan Love during Toyotathon season is unstoppable. But yeah, if you're looking at Jordan Love's stats, he's been good. He hasn't been great. I wouldn't. He's a mid QB2 for me.
Just not throwing
right now.
touchdowns. Right? Like
Yeah,
Jacobs is taking all the touchdowns.
Exactly.
I've got Jacobs as RB1 this week overall. So I definitely think that's going to continue, and he's just going to get a bunch of touchdowns.
Absolutely. I agree.
So Roger's saying last question, even though we still have another, I think, 13 minutes after this, so we might still have more questions. Last question from Roger anyway. Thank you, Roger. Take the day off. I mean, we don't want to take the day off. We want to watch football all day, which is not here live streaming. So PPR need a flex. Devontae Smith, Jerry Jeudy with the new quarterback, or Jalen McMillan. I think right off the bat, with the new quarterback is the whole key with Jerry Jeudy. Can we trust Jeudy with Dorian Thompson-Robinson?
I mean, even if they didn't have a new quarterback and Winston was playing, I don't think I would start Jeudy over Smith, especially coming off of that huge game last week. I think he had double digits the week before.
I might consider it, but yeah, they'd be in the same range. Whereas now with the new quarterback, like Jeudy, I've got him down at wide receiver 34 right now. I still don't know if that's too high.
But okay, so McMillan, that's tough because I do have him lower than Smith by quite a bit.
Same here.
But I did write up McMillan as who's he facing?
Dallas.
Yeah, I don't even know how to pronounce his name. Oruwawe, the cornerback, whatever. But that dude's been pretty bad. He's allowing like a 75% catch rate. Let's see, 0.38 fantasy points per route, which is fourth highest. And then he's allowing a 22.8% target rate, which is the second highest in rate in it. So I don't know. It's between Smith and McMillan.
I think so too.
But I can't.
How high do you have Devontae Smith? I know he's
Goose,
pretty high.
stop.
Let me look.
Because I've got him at wide receiver 17.
I got him at 24-ish. 20, yeah.
But as you said, higher than both the other guys.
Yeah, so like I'm thinking he's gonna get like 5, 6 catches, 60, maybe 70 yards. If he gets a touchdown, I mean that'll give him almost 20 points. The thing is, McMillan, he's averaged 20 points.
Devontae had 11 catches last week, so I think you're saying 5 or 6 that's almost on the low end for me. Like he could definitely do more than that.
Yeah, that's what he definitely could.
You're kind of saying like baseline average kind of.
He did have 11 last week, but since their bye week in week 5, he has had 3, 1, 6, 4, 2, 4, and 4 receptions. So the 11 catch last week was definitely an anomaly, especially when you've been seeing how much they haven't been passing and how Jalen Hurts has not been putting up. He's been barely putting up 200 passing yards a week. Last week he threw for 290, but before that, before AJ Brown complained, it wasn't on their radar.
Remember last week I had him as a sneaky top 15 receiver just because I thought he was gonna do pretty good, but he ended up smashing that.
Yeah, it was wide receiver 1 last week. So now have they gotten past that point and they realize, okay, maybe we do have to pass as we get prepared for the playoffs. This is a huge game against Washington. I mean, they win the division if they win this game. So
yeah,
this seems like a game where they are going to pull out all the stops and they aren't going to be afraid to throw a lot. And now we have the division locked up. And now we're going to slow the games down because we know. I mean, they're still chasing the 1 seed too, so I don't know that they really slow down that. I don't know. I'm agreeing with Jamie and going Devontae Smith. What do you think, Topher?
I'm still going Devontae Smith. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
McMillan has a great matchup, as Jamie mentioned. But yeah, not good enough. And I think all of us are pretty scared of Dorian Thompson-Robinson at quarterback.
Yeah. Yep. I predicted Bengals winning 48-6. So I took the highest minus. So I think it was Bengals minus 23 on DraftKings was the highest I can go for like a plus 490 odds.
And I mean, this is an interesting stat. Thank you, Tailgate Fantasy Sports, that Judy has 111 targets. Smith has 74. Now, context though, Devontae has, he's missed some games with injury. I think he's got 3 games.
He's missed
this year.
three games with injury.
I think Judy's played all games.
Yes, he has.
So what? So I guess 73 divided by 11 is like 7 point. Oh wait, that'd be 10. Yeah. 6.7. Yeah, I guess yes. Yeah. So even with that, I think it's still there's a disparity, but it's not as large as it looks there, I think. But I also, if you isolate Judy's targets without Watson or with Watson and compared to Winston, I wonder if that would be closer. Like if you just looked at Judy's games in games that Watson started, his targets those games, it's probably pretty close, maybe even lower than what Devontae has. So before Watson was there, like Judy was almost unplayable in fantasy, and like it's just Jameis Winston that has transformed like him to a good fantasy asset. So without him, I think he returns to what he was with Watson. That's the other fear too. So I don't know that his target share matches that over the course of a whole season. Because does anyone remember what game Winston took over? It was the Bengals game, right? It was week 7 was the game that Watson got hurt. Up to that point, Judy's targets 8, 6, 7, 9, 3, 3, 6. Since that game, since Winston's been the starter, 8, 11, 11, 6, 13, 6, 14. Right? So definitely he's upped his target. So I don't know that it's fair to say like just his rate currently and just like I would think a fair comparison was take Devontae's targets all year, but then isolate just those first 7 weeks. I guess I could do that math. I am capable. I've got the numbers in front of me. But there is another question, so I'll get to that in a second. Because again, none of us are saying play Jerry Jeudy, so I think we're all saying Devontae Smith pretty easily. Yes. Elijah Moore, Wan'Dale Robinson, Nick Westbrook-Akine, leaning more in Wan'Dale.
How are you in a championship with these options?
Hey, you know what? If it's start 12 or 13, that last dude sometimes is just be alive and get points.
Yeah.
Like there's some deep, because I'm in a 10-team league, but it's deep because we have to start 12. So that 12th starter tends to be someone that that's not really ideal, right? Like if it's a start 10 and this is the lineup, but that is a good point, Jamie. But I guess he's dealing with 2 starting spots. He's talking. Because Jalen Waddle's out. That's why he's not asking us about Jalen. That's why there's a second spot that's opened up.
Yeah, I'm going Wan'Dale and Westbrook-Akine.
Is it because we talk about they're all dealing with backup quarterbacks? That's Dan's next comment. But
Rudolph's probably the best one out of all.
Exactly. Yeah, that's what I was going to say. It doesn't really affect it for the Titans because they're the same quality at the least. If not, Rudolph might actually be an upgrade.
Plus, Indy's pretty bad in the secondary. I know. I think Cincinnati allows the top 10 in the slot.
Start 22. Start 22 in this league. Sorry, Jamie. That's,
what?
Well, because there's IDP players. So 14 teams IDP start 22. So
I'm sitting there, I'm like, what?
Anyway, I'm guessing there's probably at least 6 IDP starters, if not probably 8. So you're still looking at a start 10, start 12 on offense. I can see why it's that deep.
I'm looking at
receivers.
I got Wan'Dale for about around 10 points. Atlanta's not that great. Yeah, so Wan'Dale's at 46 for me. Westbrook.
I actually have Elijah Moore ranked the highest, funny enough. After all that talk of Dorian Thompson-Robinson, maybe that's a mistake. The Bengals defense sucks. I think that's the problem there.
Yeah, but so does Indy.
Yeah, that's true. They all do.
They're
all backup quarterbacks going against bad defenses.
Yes. Oof. Yeah, I'm going Elijah Moore and Westbrook-Akine. I just think Wan'Dale, yes, I've loved his target share this season, but he is getting dink and dunks every week. He's coming away with 7 targets, 4 catches, and 21 yards every week. It's not something you want to trust. He doesn't have a touchdown upside really. Nick Westbrook-Akine can randomly get you a touchdown, and we've seen that this season. You got to play upside. Wan'Dale does not have upside.
Wan'Dale was great the first 5 weeks of the
season. Yeah, I mean he was top 5 in targets.
Yeah.
Since week 6, he hasn't finished as a top 30 receiver even 1 week.
Yeah.
But I don't know that any of these guys finish as top 30 receivers. So Westbrook Akine, in theory, has the upside of being the touchdown guy. So I think he makes sense the most because I think you definitely want to play him in a semifinal. He could have that big catch that can tilt things for you. Whereas Wandale and Moore might outscore him, but by based on a floor projection. But I'm not too worried about floor, especially he said these are his 10 and 11th starters on offense. I think that the first 9 starters give me the floor. Those last couple starters where I'm not really sure about any of them, I want to just chase the upside all the time.
Yes.
So Westbrook Akine makes the most sense for sure.
I agree.
Even though that's the guy Dan was leaning on benching. I think all 3 of us said that he was not the guy we'd bench, though. You said Elijah Moore, right, Jamie?
Yeah, I'm benching Moore, man. You just can't trust the Browns.
And Topher, you said you're benching Robinson?
Did
you say Elijah Moore as well?
Yeah, I'm benching Robinson.
I'm leaning Wandale as well. Because I don't know that Drew Lock is the type of guy that loves to go to his slot receivers and check down. It feels like if it was Tommy DeVito, I'd almost like Wandale better from that perspective. But Lock might just lock in on Neighbors and ignore everyone else too. He's going to try and push the ball downfield, as we've seen. Whereas DeVito, he's so bad at taking sacks that the coach might go to Wandale to avoid these sacks, and he might be forced to do that. I don't know. None of them are great. None of that's great at all. Richard. So standard league QB, Jordan Love or Anthony Richardson?
Yeah, I think we kind of touched on this earlier.
We talked on the Richardson question. Love wasn't involved in that, but I think we ultimately talked about Love because we got two Packers fans on.
Because I did say I would start Caleb over Love, but I'm starting Richardson over Caleb.
And Love.
Yeah, and Love. So obviously this one for me is Richardson. Like I said, I have him at 9. You had him at 8, right?
Exactly.
So
I think there's lots of touchdown upside with Richardson.
Upside and the rushing.
Tons of touchdown upside for Josh Jacobs this week in the Packers. I think, again, it's another week where Love fails to score multiple touchdowns.
This is funny. So far. As much as I hate Aaron Rodgers, I have Aaron Rodgers above Jordan Love this week.
They're pretty close.
Rodgers.
I'm starting Rodgers in the league, so yeah.
Rodgers is quietly having one of the best quarterback seasons a Jets quarterback has ever had.
Oh yeah, for sure. He's still the best quarterback that's ever played for the Jets, and it's not even close. Even though he's 40 and coming off a torn Achilles, that's how bad Jets quarterbacks have been their entire tenure. And I'm even including the legendary Joe Namath, who won a Super Bowl MVP by throwing 117 yards and no touchdowns. I still don't understand how he got that Super Bowl MVP. They dominated through the run game, but he guaranteed the win before the game, so they'll give him the Super Bowl MVP. Doesn't make sense. Joe Namath is one of the most overrated quarterbacks in history. Rodgers at 40 with a torn Achilles is better than Joe Namath ever.
Yep.
So yeah, that is not in doubt. But that's a detriment to how bad the Jets have been for their entire history. Got one championship because you're for some reason the Colts just didn't stop the run that day. that was the problem. Wandale's upside kind of sucks. But he gets Jamie, your projection of Wandale getting 10 points makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
But it's tough to think of him beyond that, right? In a fantasy football semifinal, you kind of have to think bigger than 10 points too. Burrows. Courtney. Courtney Burrows. Hi. So do I risk playing Njoku through the hammy or Pitts with Penix? I'm
not going Pitts.
Well, I don't want to play Njoku with Dorian Thompson-Robinson, though.
Well, I don't want to play Pitts.
Courtney, which tight end is available on waivers right now?
Yeah, can you go get
Kyle Pitts for? Because there might be a better option out there. Legit, let us know.
I have Strange in my top 12, and I think he can finish as a sneaky top 5 guy this week.
He had the second most catches of any player last week.
I don't know how deep this league is, but Hunter Henry, maybe he's out there. Pat Fryer moves. Tucker Craig.
He already played.
Oh, yeah. Even Jake Ferguson.
Yes. Well, yeah, he might have got dropped. Yeah, for sure. I've got Strange, Ferguson, Henry, all as top 12 tight ends. So, yeah.
I'm going lower. I like Dalton Schultz over all these guys.
Courtney, you love the same. If Juwan Johnson is there, go get your guy Juwan Johnson to play over these guys.
Or even Gesicki.
To be fair, actually, Johnson's a bad example because they've got a backup quarterback starting.
Oh, it's a deep dynasty. So
I guess so is Bretton Strange.
Goose, you need to stop, sir.
Cotton is out.
I mean,
Okay.
I just don't think they're using Pitts the right, like they should. Like it's not.
No, not at
It's
all.
got nothing to do with the quarterback. So even with the new quarterback coming in, they're not just going to magically use Pitts.
To be fair, Dan, I told you to bench Wandale. I think benching Wandale is the right call, so I will definitely not talk you out of that. Sorry. Just
So again, the thing with Njoku, though, like, yeah, he's got a young, inexperienced quarterback. They may lean on Njoku because they like to lean on tight ends sometime.
His injury's scaring me, though. Like, you've got the quarterback and the injury. Like, here's the thing. We've never seen Michael Penix play an NFL game, and I'm really confident that he's a much better quarterback than Dorian Thompson-Robinson. Like, that's how bad DTR is. And, like, Penix, first-round guy, like, we expect him to be good. So,
Yes.
to me, there's much more risk with Njoku because you got the injury risk and the worst quarterback risk. I think one upside call of Pitts is Penix this quarterback that comes in and says, no, I'm going to use Pitts properly. I will actually target Pitts properly. Like, that could be the case. I feel like Njoku's not going to hit a ceiling with DTR. Pitts might hit a ceiling with Penix. So, but if those are you're really stuck, Cordy, and those are your two options, I much prefer Pitts this week. Which is, I'm one of the biggest Pitts detractors. Like, all the hype he's ever gotten, I think, is totally unwarranted. We shouldn't have been crowning him as the dynasty tight end one before he even played a snap in the NFL. Like, people have been so nuts on their Pitts hype. And that's a little faith I have in DTR that I'm going with Pitts pretty easily.
You know what? I am looking. He averages like 4.5 targets per game. He had 4 last week, 6 the week before. He's had a couple other games with 5, 6, 9, 5, 8. So,
okay, yeah. Luke Farrell and Payne Durham are the top available tight ends. just play Kyle Pitts. Like,
play Pitts.
As much as it stinks, and let's just hope he puts on deodorant, I would go Pitts.
if Njoku wasn't hurt, Jamie, I think I might agree with you.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just because he's also dealing with the injury. Like, it's
yeah.
Cool. Like, he's got so much risk of, oh man, like do we even know for sure that he's playing?
Yeah, I think he is.
He isn't questionable in like a game time decision?
No, I thought I saw he's playing.
Okay, fair enough. But there is still risk of him like aggravating the injury in game and getting pulled halfway through.
Yeah.
Or the game gets so bad they just decide to pull him and hope for next week.
I go with the healthy player. Go with the
healthy
player.
Browns play for right now. Sorry. So from Jamie, from Jordan, I'm assuming Jordan Arsenault, your co-host on the
yep.
Sheet. So full PPR, flex Marvin Harrison Jr., Jalen McMillan, or Kendre Miller. Man, it's the same names keep popping up. Jalen McMillan, Kendre Miller. I mean, I like the touchdown upside of McMillan, personally. Is that more than what we project Harrison to get in targets?
I'm going McMillan. I'm going
really
McMillan.
Close to my rankings. Like, yeah.
I feel like McMillan is becoming that Chris Godwin number 2 receiver for Baker, and he's slowly been progressing that way. And I don't feel like Marvin Harrison Jr. has any sort of consistency, unfortunately. That's really hard. And so while, yes, he could have an upside that's bigger, Jalen McMillan is producing very well lately and is growing in his role. I'm going Jalen.
Yeah, they're super close to my rankings, too. Marv has been quite a disappointment this year. There's good touchdown upside with McMillan, as he's shown the last couple of weeks.
Like I said, McMillan's been averaging over 20 points a game the last 2 weeks.
Yeah, I'm going McMillan.
Because he had an over 20-point game 2 weeks ago. But again, 2 touchdowns. Like, he's shown this that's upside that we want to see from Marv. We just haven't. So, yeah, I think we've gotten a lot of Kendre Miller questions. I don't think we've chosen to go with Miller for any of them. And I think it's going to include here for the other Courtney Harden, the real deal here. This is a real tough question, too. Tyrone Tracy, Kendre Miller at running back, Thielen, and McMillan as wide receivers. Got to start 2 of those. And Courtney, can you let us know if it's half PPR or full PPR? Especially in full PPR, I am tempted to just say play the 2 receivers. I don't know. Anyone have any?
What are we doing?
So start these 2. I think is it Topher?
Yeah,
the same thing as last question where we're like McMillan.
I'm going wide receivers. Absolutely.
Yeah,
Tyrone Tracy is losing his role, and also the Giants' offense is losing their mind. And then Kendre Miller, we don't know what he can do. He's facing the Packers. Like, the Packers are really staunch against the run and within the 5, and he might slip a touchdown, but do you think Kendre Miller's going to really run all over the Green Bay Packers? I don't think that's true at all. Plus, they're going to be playing from behind with someone at quarterback.
and I assume Spencer Rattler. I mean, after they benched Hayner so quickly last week, I don't think there's any way you can go back to him. Like
Correct.
You gave him the shot, and he showed, man, he's awful. I think if Carr's out the rest of the year, I think Rattler plays every snap, even if he's bad. Because if he's bad, he's not Jake Hayner.
Yeah.
But I also think there's no way Hayner should have started last week, so I have no idea what the Saints are thinking.
Correct.
We talked about the Packers pod this week.
I don't trust Kendre or Tracy as far as
I have Thielen as a top 20 this week.
Yeah, Thielen.
So I think he's going to go off at least 15, 16 points.
I guess the only scare is if it's half PPR, right? Like, are we
still?
I mean, the touchdown upsides with McMillan. So even in half PPR, you kind of want him. I think if it's half PPR though, that's where I might play one of the running backs. I might go Kendre Miller over Thielen actually. But in full PPR, I think Thielen's volume. I don't think there's a lot of touchdown upside for him either. The Panthers, that's why. Yeah. In half PPR, he really gets hurt by the format, whereas McMillan, I think, is less hurt by that. Because we're still thinking he's got the most upside with touchdowns. So half PPR, full PPR, that doesn't really happen. Still chasing touchdowns with him. All right, Mr. Los D Mix. Also check out. We've got a few people here. We've got Jordan from the Fantasy Cheat Sheet. We've got a question from Mr. Los D Mix from Speak On. It's both Tuesday night shows.
Yeah, and then these.
Hey, look at that, Jalen McMillan again. Sorry,
yes. It's okay. I was just gonna say between these next few questions, let's wrap it up because I still want to do my final personal run through of what I have done.
Start 2, Jalen McMillan, Devontae Smith, Jaden Reed. I mean, this one seems pretty easy. I feel like
I'm sitting Reed.
Yeah, easy read. That's why I didn't put in the chat.
I think so too. And I think we're gonna definitely play Devontae and play Jalen as well. And then Jerome Ford versus Cincinnati or Tony Pollard versus Indy.
Ooh, man.
I think you go Pollard. I don't actually because Spears is back. Spears has been putting on a show lately. I'm going Ford.
And Pollard is for sure active because he was questionable coming into the week.
I mean,
that's a good question.
Spears only got like 7 carries last week. I know he went off with them, but he's still not seeing that much.
Well, Pollard only saw about that too, though, right? Like, and that was only because Pollard left with an injury.
Mm-hmm.
He still got 17 carries, but he also left the game early. Even in early games, they still give him a ton of volume. But, Pollard is active.
Yeah, I'm going Ford. I think. This is tough, Gavin. This is tough, and I'm sorry that you have to do this.
Well, they technically are both good matchups because the Colts and Bengals run defenses aren't good.
Man,
I like Ford because Spears is still there, and I wonder if they do limit Pollard's touches coming off the injury. Because again, I don't think he barely practiced this week, so he's clearly not 100%. So I think there is a risk of Spears playing a lot more than we expect. Whereas, I mean, they've done everything in their power to not give the football to Dante Foreman. They've made him a healthy scratch how many times this year? Like, this team does not like Dante Foreman, and they don't really like Pierre Strong. I could see Ford returning to what he was early in the season, where he was almost a must-start.
I mean, Ford was never a truly must-start in the beginning of the season, was he?
No, but he was close to that.
Yeah.
Well, let's see. What did he put up earlier this season? Yeah, never really. 16 points, 7 points, 9 points, 12 points to start the year. Which was, that was back end starter, flex spot. Like, if you had between him and a receiver, you were going to take that kind of volume, right? Now this is Pollard has gotten a ton of volume this year. I guess I'm just still concerned with that injury. I just don't know what they're going to do game plan wise in terms of splitting his role. But I've doubted Pollard before, and Jamie hasn't, and it's turned out to be the right decision. So take that for what it is.
Yeah, but I think I am leaning forward, man.
Yeah.
I got him like so close, like back to back. Jeez, even the number 2 running back ranker has them back to back at 22 and 23. Mr. Joe Bond.
Oh, love Joe Bond.
Fantasy six pack.
Okay.
Yeah,
What did the goal line guy? Yeah, speaking of fantasy six pack, what does my goal line guide say? So, the Titans have one of the worst rushing goal line grades. 62, which is almost 20 points lower than the average. Technically, the Browns are below average as well at 78.75, with the average being 80.9, but it's almost essentially an average score. But yeah, I don't know. I don't love the Titans' offense this week.
Yeah.
I think we're saying Ford.
I think I would go Ford slightly. I mean, it is a coin flip.
They're both having quarterback changes too, right?
TPR is also like I think he's got rushing upside too, right?
And I wonder, does that
means there's going to be less stacked boxes. Maybe that'll help Ford.
They'll have to have someone account for DTR, and it makes the run lanes easier. Whereas Mason Rudolph doesn't really change the dynamic of how defenses approach the offense, right? I don't think.
Yeah, I'm gonna go Ford.
Yeah, all right. We're all going Jerome Ford. Jamie, ending week 16 with a Cleveland Browns player. That's great. But thank you, everyone. Made a little 15 minutes extra for you all, mostly because I rambled too much. That's entirely my fault. But yeah, appreciate everyone for joining us in the comments, asking us their questions. I really appreciate talking with you two fine gentlemen.
Absolutely.
For all these decisions together. So thank you, Jamie. Thank you, Topher. Thank you, everyone in the chat.
Hope you guys have
Kyle
a happy
Senra.
holiday.
Goodbye. And if you guys have anything else to say, you can.
Nope. Deuces, y'all.
All right. Let's get here and set some lineups, folks.
Make sure you win because no one likes a loser.
Get to the finals, folks.
Thanks, Dad.